too cold? Why don't you react? Do you even care? If you've ever been told this, you're not alone. And if you've ever thought this about someone, maybe you just didn't understand what you were looking at. Because here's the truth no one says out loud. Silence is not weakness, it's calculation. Distance is not rejection, it's strategy. And emotional control is not coldness, it's discipline. In a culture that rewards oversharing and instant emotional responses, the person who pauses, who observes instead of reacts, is seen as detached, even dangerous. But what if that cold exterior is exactly why they thrive? Strategic people play the long game. They know that emotions are real, but not always reliable. They don't suppress feelings, they compartmentalize them, so they don't cloud the mission. When chaos hits, most people panic. They leak, they flinch, they show their cards. But the strategic mind? We breathe slower, speak less, think sharper. Their stillness isn't emptiness, it's focus. They don't react because they already saw this moment coming. To them, emotion is information. Valuable, yes, but not always a command. They feel deeply, but they've learned. The more reactive you are, the easier you are to control. So they choose restraint, composure. They detach, not because they don't care, but because they care enough to think clearly. And yet, when the world sees this, they call it cold. But what you're really seeing is someone who's mastered the pause, the space between stimulus and response, the space where power lives. So next time someone calls you cold, ask yourself, or am I just in control? They say if you care too much, you'll get crushed. And if you care too little, you'll be alone. But what if the real power lies somewhere in between? Detachment isn't absence, it's positioning, a mental strategy that allows you to think clearly while others drown in their emotions. Most people react in real time. Something happens, they flare up. They shout, panic, spiral, overshare, and then regret it later. That's the short game. But the strategic individual, they don't react. They calculate. They play for the end game. They ask, will this matter tomorrow? Does this move help or hurt the long arc of my purpose? They know that one careless emotional outburst can burn bridges, wreck reputations, or reveal too much. This is why they seem cold, but they're not cold. They're conserving energy for the next 5 moves. They're holding back, not from fear, but from foresight. They know something you don't. Every reaction is a cost, and if you're always reacting, you're always paying. This doesn't mean they don't feel, they do, but they don't perform their emotions for the crowd. They process them in silence. That silence? It's not emptiness, it's structure, it's mental architecture. This is the art of strategic detachment. Feeling deeply, but acting deliberately. Caring fully, but not carelessly. In this noisy world, detachment looks like indifference, but it's often clarity in disguise. Because when you stop chasing validation, you start attracting respect. So the next time someone accuses you of being too distant, ask yourself, or am I just 2 steps ahead? Emotions are powerful, but most people spend them like spare change. A flash of anger here, a breakdown over nothing. Validation seeking, like it's a drug. What they don't realize is this: emotion is currency, and like any currency, it must be invested wisely. Strategic minds understand this. They don't suppress emotions. They assign value to them. Not every insult deserves your rage. Not every betrayal deserves your breakdown. Not every compliment deserves your trust. Because when your emotions are easily triggered, your actions become easily manipulated. And manipulators? They don't look for intelligence. They look for reactivity. So when you withhold that reaction, when you don't take the bait, you're not being cold, you're being disciplined. It's not about being emotionless. It's about knowing when and where to place your emotional energy. They cry loudly. You sit in silence. They beg for attention. You move in shadows. That's the difference. They spend. You invest. You save your energy for decisions that matter. You release your emotions in ways that strengthen, not sabotage you. This is the hidden advantage, because in a world addicted to constant emotional output, the one who controls emotion controls the room. So the next time you feel that emotional spark rising, pause, breathe, and ask yourself, is this worth my emotional currency? Or is it just noise? In a world of noise, the loudest voice often wins attention, but not power. Power belongs to the one who can pause, because in that pause, you think, you observe, you regain control. Most people rush to speak, to defend, to explain, to be understood. But strategic individuals, they embrace silence like a weapon. They wait, not because they're weak, but because they're watching. They know the truth. The pause is where your opponent reveals themselves, where emotion rushes ahead and logic lags behind. In that brief moment, the impulsive expose their strategy, the insecure overcompensate, the manipulative overplay their hand. You don't even have to move. Just pause. That moment of stillness is your edge, because while others fill silence with noise, you let silence speak for you, and it speaks louder than panic ever could. Power is not always about domination. Sometimes it's about restraint, not responding too fast, not revealing your intentions, not acting out of desperation. The pause builds mystery, mystery builds tension, and tension, controlled tension, is power. So the next time you're pushed for a reaction, don't rush. Let the silence work for you and ask yourself, who benefits if I move first? Sometimes the coldest move is no move at all. They call you fake, distant, detached. But what they don't understand is you're wearing a mask. On purpose, not to deceive, but to protect your inner world from a world that doesn't deserve full access. Strategic people don't show all their cards, not because they're hiding something, but because they understand something. Vulnerability is sacred, and access must be earned. You see, most people bleed openly. They tell their secrets too quickly. They expose their plans before they even begin, and in doing so they give others power over them. But the strategist, they reveal only what's necessary. Not cold, calculated. Not dishonest, disciplined. You don't show weakness to gain sympathy. You conceal emotion to maintain control. Because in a manipulative world, transparency without discernment is self-sabotage. So you wear the mask, not to lie, but to lead, to observe without being observed, to shape the outcome before others even know the game has begun. And yes, it feels lonely, but you don't trade authenticity for approval. You protect your essence like a vault protects gold, because once you understand how the world plays, you realize you must wear armor to survive it. So let them judge your silence. Let them misunderstand your calm. Behind that mask is not weakness, It is a mind, calculating in silence. A soul, moving with purpose. This isn't deception, it's design. And it wins. They say you're cold, but maybe you're just not willing to be used anymore. Maybe you've learned that emotions, while sacred, can also be weapons, and silence can be the most strategic form of power. In a world full of noise, the calm ones win. The calculated, the clear, the ones who don't react, but respond. If you've ever been called too cold, when really you were just in control, subscribe to Inner Citadel. Drop a comment. Silence is strength, because this world doesn't need more noise, it needs strategic minds like yours.